Join me as I make over this oak dresser set. This is a very unusual nightstand and a great solid oak dresser set. This is going to be a fun one. It has a custom glass top, so of course the top's in great condition. That nightstand though, is something else. And I really like the design, but they remind me of sea creatures for some reason. But stay tuned for this makeover. I'm Shireen with Olive Street Designs, and I'm showing the process of furniture refinishing so you can learn too. Be sure to subscribe and follow for more. All right, let's dive in. First thing is to take off the hardware, and of course, flathead screws. Those are not my favorite. I have to do them all by hand, and they're pretty well stuck in there because these types of screws are just screwed directly into the wood handles. So it takes a little bit to get them off, and then I couldn't wait to get those off of there. I know some people might like those, but I'm not a fan. They look like some kind of crab or sea creature. So time to get rid of those. Sorry. And then I can see beyond all of these. I know those are probably for towels or something on the sides, but all I could see underneath was the structure of what the actual nightstand looks like, and it really does match the dresser. So I want to get all these pieces taken off. It was held on by like 6 or 7 screws. All needed to come off. It's kind of one of those things. I get excited about these types of things when I'm looking at it going, oh my goodness, if I get all that off of there, the nightstand that's underneath all of that is awesome. I really wish there were 2. I don't usually pick up single nightstands, but that's how this one came. And there it is. The nightstand is free. It's free of all of that detail, and I think it looks better already. Just get the last little bit off there, just simplifying everything. Those, again, just had a couple of screws and a little brace for it. I know, I just feel like it looks so much better already. Love it. Okay, time for a good cleaning. This felt like it had probably years of things like furniture polish or wax or something on it, so I really had to scrub this one. And I'm going to go in with 120 grit sandpaper. I'm going to start scuff sanding. This had glass on the top, so there's not a lot of damage. It had a little water, so that I'm thinking that they may have put the glass on after that happened, just so it didn't happen anymore. But it was really in good shape, so just scuff sanding. But it had, again, just a thick, really shiny layer, so I want to make sure it gets a good scuff. I don't want any adhesion issues. And I'm using just flat sandpaper, the standard sandpaper. And now I'm going to go in with an interface pad and go do all of the curved areas. So I do all the flat things first, switch the sandpaper to a sponge, and then go and do all the rounded areas. Surfprep makes all of these things so much easier. Certainly you can do this another way, but it's usually by hand. Okay, and I still have the pad on there so I can do these details. Just gets in there, and then I'm going to come back again with flat and do all the flat areas. I'm going to be completely changing the hardware, so we are going to be filling in those holes. Now that looks like a properly scuffed dresser. I had one drawer that kept hitting, and I was like, why is this one hitting? And then come to find out, that little drawer guide those are glides. They call them glides. It was broken. Both of them were broken. So the drawer was just not sliding on those, and it sits too low, which made it hit the side of the cabinet. So I always keep a stock of those. It's so common that those are broken. I use needle nose pliers to get it set in there and just hammer it in. Got that all fixed. Let's put the drawer back in and test it out. Oh, perfect. I love it when it's an easy fix like that, because sometimes you put it back in and you're like, oh no, now what? It didn't work. But anyway, got the nightstand all scuff sanded. Time for some Bondo. I keep my Bondo all in a kit, so I just have to open it up. Everything's in there. All right, and then I put the cream hardener in there, I get lots of questions about what was the blue stuff. So it's a two-part process that causes, it's a chemical process. So you do the Bondo putty itself, and then you add the cream hardener to it, mix it up really well, and then I have a little spreader that I'm using, and I push it into the holes because I want the whole thing filled, not just the very front. Push it in and scrape it off, and then I do build that up a little bit so that when I sand it down, there isn't a void. Got to fill all the holes from where the details were on the nightstands too. All right, just sanding down the Bondo, making sure that is nice and smooth. Time to get rid of some dust. Just a little bit. Do you use the leaf blower too? I love the leaf blower for that. It's so satisfying. You gotta wear your mask because there's dust everywhere. So now I just have a wet microfiber towel, and I was getting rid of more dust. And time to start drilling some hardware holes. I have a brand new drill, took it out of the box. I was like, oh, it has a charge. No, it doesn't. So charge all of your tools before you go to use them. So I had to switch back to the regular DeWalt, but I love the new drill. It's gonna be cool. You'll see it in videos that are coming up. Get all of those drilled. Time to set up the spray tent. Into the tent we go. Time for some primer. I use Stix primer. And now that I've got a good scuff on this and everything's clean, just a nice layer of primer. I let that dry for a couple of hours, and then sanding with a sponge. It's probably about a 400 grit sponge because it goes around all the curves and everything very nicely. It's good to just get everything sanded down smooth again before starting in with paint. And this is a custom tan color that I made. So I did a couple coats of paint, and then I did a top coat. I know it went by really fast, and now I'm just painting the details. So these drawers sit into the cabinet, and the edges needed to be touched up. So, I took all the details off of this nightstand, and this is a piece of marble that sits on the top, but it doesn't have any guardrails. So now that that trim is all gone, this would just slide right off. So I set it in there where I wanted it. I'm taking a Sharpie and I'm marking where it sits, because I need to put something on the back so that this doesn't just slide right off. It may not be a problem when it's sitting in your house, but I don't know, it was making me nervous, so I felt like I just needed to add something to it. So I have this 2-part epoxy, and you just squeeze it out and stir it up, and it hardens actually very quickly. But I'm going to be epoxying and just cementing on there really some little wood blocks that will just act as, it'll block it from being able to slide off. This is a heavy piece of marble, and I don't know, it made me nervous that there was nothing keeping it from just sliding right off of there. All right, here goes my little wood blocks. And now once this gets a chance to set to completely harden, those will, there'll be stops essentially. And while that's setting up, I'm going to go line the drawers. I like to measure everything, and then I will mark and cut these to size. Keep me from wasting materials, and I don't like using the X-Acto knife in the drawer. So I do cut these to the exact size of my drawer. And then I dry fit it just to make sure I've got my measurements right. And we are looking good. So I peel off the paper, set it in the drawer. I smooth it out with my hands first. And then I just have a plastic putty knife that I go in and set the edges really well, and then get rid of all of the air bubbles. Looking fabulous. Time to put the glass back on the top. I love custom glass. It just really protects everything. So now that's had a chance to set up, and it's just going to make me feel so much better now that this doesn't move. So let's take a look back at where we were, and this is where we are. Just took a, orange oak dresser and now made it into something modern and beautiful. So if you like this kind of content, make sure you hit that like or follow button and follow for more.